So first thing, I'm going to place thermal insulation between these two horizontal elements. So let's do it. If I am in this front view, okay, I'm going to work with a hidden line. So what I want is thermal insulation here. It's a couple of inches. I think that was a 2x3 element. Group, edit type. Yeah, this is 2.5 by 1.5. Okay. So now I have to create an architecture, a component, model in place. This is part of the wall. So I'm going to select the category wall. And I'm going to select extrusion. And I have to set the work plane. By default, the work plane would be one of the levels. Okay, so I can, if I know the array that I'm working, the grid line that I'm working with, I can use that grid line, but I can always pick a plane. Okay, so you can select pick a plane, okay? And we can select this, not the line, but the rectangle itself. Okay, so we are working on that plane where this rafter starts. So select this one. And now I can create a rectangle here. And if the distance of all these elements is the same, I created the array, so the distance should be the same. I can copy. And, well, I don't know where to finish. Okay, so let's do this. And now we have to move this in this direction all the way up to this point, and I'll be here. Before finishing, I can change the material. It's not always V. I have this material by default. That would be the rigid insulation. Rigid insulation. I don't have a texture for the rigid insulation. I have just the color. Okay, so the color is not this rigid insulation, it's something bluish or greenish, so I can use this bluish thing. Finish model. And then when I use the realistic colors, I will have this. Again, I won't see this material, so don't worry about the color because you won't see this. But I think yeah, why are we using this? Because for the polystyrene, this is the material that we are using. This is what rigid insulation is. Polystyrene. If we look at images, yeah, usually most of them are like these bluish panels. This is the extruded polystyrene. This is the foam. The white foam is the expanded polystyrene. But when we're talking about this rigid insulation, we need something like that. So, yeah, usually it's this color. So that's the element, the color that we have here. Okay. So now on these, we need the vertical elements. So we have created those vertical elements here. We can copy them, maybe, or we can create another. Okay, so we can select all these vertical elements here. And can I copy this? here that I can put up. Yeah, so I need this grid. So those vertical elements are nailed not to the thermal insulation, they are nailed to the horizontal structural element. If I use realistic colors, so this is made of wood, this is made of wood, and the nail will be here, connecting these two wooden elements. So now I can fill this cavity with thermal insulation. In this case, there will be vertical panels, but if we have a vented facade, I think it will work well because if some water gets there, it can, yeah, so you dry out by having a ventilated cavity there. So I'm not going to fill the thermal insulation. Oh, and look at what I did here. So I didn't do that detail that I draw. So I placed the horizontal one just in this place so that the cavity is. Anyway, the goal is to prevent the thermal breach. So placing a thermal insulating layer on the exterior face of the column, this is what I want to do. Okay, so this is what I did. So you see that I placed this horizontal element, and I have another cavity here. Okay, so let's do the siding now. So for the siding, I'm sure that we can find a family in Revit, but in this insert load family, what would that be? I don't know. I tried to find it, but I haven't found anything that it's good enough. Probably because I didn't explore all the options that we have here. So I'm going to create my own siding. So what is the siding? Okay, so on this front, it's something that has to be nailed to this vertical element. And what's the dimensions of the siding? Well, yep, so that's what I want to do. 8 inches, okay, and you see that we have this overlapping. Okay, so here we can see this. So the key thing is that we have to overlap those elements. We nail the top of this board to the vertical stud, and then we have this overlap. So the water goes down and it doesn't go inside the building. Well, we have different options. This is 4.5 to 6.5 inches or 8.4 to 16. I don't know. Something that goes between 4 and 10 inches will work. So it depends on the siding. So let's do it. The first one has to be placed here. Okay. So I'm going to. Okay, so that's a challenge. So let's do this with architecture component model in place. This is the wall. And the shape of the siding is just a rectangle, but it's tilted. So what's the tilt? It's the thickness of the panel itself. Okay, so I'm going to try to figure out what to do. So I select extrusion for sure, and I have to set the work plane. And again, I'm picking the plane, and I'm selecting the same plane I selected before. So that rafter here. And I'm going to do this with hidden line because I think it will be clear. And now, what do I want to do? So I want something that it's around. I start here, and it's around 8 inches. Okay, so let's go down 9 inches, something like that. And I'm going to go this way 1 inch, like this, okay? And now I need this tilted line here. So this is gonna be the beginning of the following rafter. So that will be 1 inch, okay? But actually this line has to be longer. So I select it and I make it longer, let's say 11 inches. So there's a 2-inch overlap there. Okay, so I think this will work well. And now I need a perpendicular line, perpendicular like this, and we can make it 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch would be more than enough. And now I have to go all the way down up to this point. And now I have to close it here. Okay. So the length of this is 11 inches, kind of. Why did it happen? Oh, no, sorry. I have to extend this up to this point. So this is what, this is the 11-inch line. Yeah. So I need another, I need to copy this one. Here. And, okay, I'm changing my mind. I'm going to do it 1 inch thick. So I'm going to offset. The offset is 1 inch. And now I have to go out like this. And then I trim this one and this one and that one. Okay. And now I have to copy this rectangle to start at this point. So I'm going to copy 1, 2, 3, 4, copy, and I'm going to put it here. Yep, so this is exactly what I want. Okay, so I want the siding, I want the overlap, and the next one will be here. But be careful because now we have to delete those auxiliary lines that I have created. So I have to delete this line and I have to delete this line. And there's an overlapping here. This will not work. Okay, so if I click OK, it says that there's an intersection or an overlapping. So we have to be careful with that. Probably I have to move this here. So if I move this there, does it work now? It doesn't work. Okay. So probably we need a gap, a tiny gap, something like that. And now it works. Okay. So Revit is very sensitive. When we have two overlapping lines, it doesn't work. So I have to leave this small gap there. So keep editing the extrusion. And now I'm going to copy this one. Copy from this point to that point here. And make sure that there is always a gap so we can keep copying. I'm going to do it again, okay? But I want to finish this and then I'll do it again. Okay, so I have to finish where, okay, so this one, it's not nailed to this vertical element. So I think I can extend the vertical element so that I have a place to nail it. Okay, so I'm going to do this. And I can change the material. This is not OSB. I will change this material to wood see what kind of wood we have here. Plywood or softwood. Okay, I will use softwood, but probably I will change the finish because I don't like it. And then I have to extend this all the way there. And finish model. Okay, so that's the siding, and in realistic colors, well, it's not bad, but well, can be better. But okay, this is what I need. I need this first horizontal element, then the vertical element. There's an air cavity here, and then the air cavity. Well, we have the siding. There's an overlap here in the siding, and this is what a traditional wood siding looks like. Okay, so again, I'm repeating this again. I have the board with the thermal insulation. Then I have these horizontal elements nailed to the structure. I have a thermal insulation, this rigid insulation between the horizontal elements. Then I have the vertical element nailed to the horizontal. There is an air gap here. And finally, I have the siding nailed to the vertical element. So this is what a wall looks like. Okay, so here we have all the components. We don't have the internal finish because the internal finish will be a board, just a board. Can be plywood, or it can be, or we can have another internal siding if we want to. Okay, so whatever, the internal finish is up to you. But now we have to do the same thing, but we have to open a window. Okay, so on this side, so between these two columns, I want the same materials, the same components, but I want to open a window. So we can either start from scratch with the stats, with the thermal insulation, with all the, or we can copy and paste and then open a window. I don't know what it will take longer. Usually we are human beings and we tend to think that if we have done something, we have spent a couple of hours doing this. Doing it again, it's like boring. So, okay, so what if I copy, paste it, and then open a window there? I'm going to do that, but maybe it's not the best idea. But we are human beings, so we have to make mistakes. That's the. So first, I have to select all the stuff that I have done here, not the column, not the beam, not this knife. So I have to try to select only the wall that I created here. I don't want to select the joists. Okay. So I think I have selected all the components of this wall. I think so. So now on level 0, if I have all these components here, I'm going to use mirror. Okay, so I'm going to mirror all these using this axis. So I'm going to use this mirror draw axis. This is the axis that I want to draw. And yeah, and it mirrors everything here. So I think I have everything I need. Those are the original stats. These are the internal stats. Here we have the cavity. Here we have the internal. We will have the internal finish. We don't have it yet, and there will be a cavity here. This is the OSB board. This thing that I have in the middle is the thermal insulation, and this is the Okay, so there's another cavity here. This is the horizontal element with thermal insulation panels. This is the air gap. This is the vertical outdoor element, and this is the siding. Yeah, so I think I have all the layers that I need. And now, okay, so that looks perfect, but we need to open a window. Well, so when we have to open windows, the most important thing that we have to remember is that a window needs a frame, and a frame has to be something structural. Okay, so we can open a window in the middle of nowhere. We need always a frame. Look at this. We have glass, so we cannot open a window in the middle of the glass. We need a frame. We have a door. Again, we need a frame, and then we can place the door. And the frame, it's always something that it's structural. Okay, so it's something that it's solid and it's nailed and it doesn't move. Well, I have a lot of solid elements here, so I can make the most of all these vertical and horizontal stacks that I have created. And then I will open a window following those vertical and horizontal elements. Okay, so this is the first decision that we have to make. Once we have this in Revit, when you have a typical wall, you can select window and you can place the window wherever you feel like. In this case, now we are creating all the structural elements, so we can't place the window anywhere. So we have to realize where the structural elements are. So that's why I'm going to use the wireframe. So with the wireframe, what the hell is this? Oof, a lot. Well, the siding is bothering me a little, so I'm going to hide in view this element of the siding. Okay, so that makes more sense because here we have this grid that I have created with vertical and horizontal elements. So now I have to make a decision. Where do I start the window and where do I finish the window? So what's the bottom and what's the top, and what are the frames, the left side and the right side of the windows? Well, as I told you, we have these elements. I know I like symmetry, so if I had to open a window here, I would try to make it. So how many? I have 1, 2, and 3 elements, and I have 1, 2, and 3 elements. This is gonna be okay. 4, 4. Okay, so I'm going to open a window just in the middle. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4 there. So the window is going to be between this element and this element. Okay, so that's good. That's going to be the width of the window. What about the height? Well, I have to use some of the vertical elements, so I can use the first one, and then the sill, the bottom part of the window, it's the sill. So what is the usual size of this sill? I don't know, at least, well, I know, I do know. At least we have to think about the furniture. So if we agree that 3 feet is a good place to start the window. So if that's the floor, we should go like 3 feet up. Okay, so this is 3 feet. So look at this. We have a structural element, this one, that it's right above 3 feet. So this is the first, second, third, fourth. Okay, so the sill of that window will be at the fourth horizontal element. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can open the sill. We can open the window here, and then the height, I'm going to move it up to the last element. Okay, so that's now that we have something structural, if we don't do this, yeah, we can cut structural elements or we can create another frame, but it will be more expensive. And so once we have made up the grid, so the distance between vertical and horizontal elements, okay, so make the most of that, because if you don't, it will be more expensive, and we will need other structural elements. So if we already have structural elements, why do we need to add more? Okay, so now I'm going to do something. I'm going to create like reference planes. Yeah, so reference planes to make me understand where the frame is going to be. So I'm going to use elevations now. So what is this elevation? In this case, it's my west elevation. I don't know the orientation of your building, but I'm going to use the west elevation. So on the west elevation, I don't see anything. Okay. So yeah, I remember that I had this issue with the west elevations. So I created this section. I'm going to look at this section. Okay, so that's it. So on this section, I'm going to hide the siding because it's bothering me. Then I will move it. And now here I have the vertical and horizontals. So we agreed that the first, the seal of the window is going to be at the fourth 1, 2, 3, 4 or horizontal element. So I'm going to create a reference plane here where the fourth horizontal element is. Okay. And I'm going to name it a seal. That's the window seal. The window head, it's going to be here. Okay, so just underneath the first horizontal element, and that would be the head of the window. And then I need the right and left frames. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So here I want the right side of the window, and here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that would be the left part of the window. Okay, so that is those are my window limits. Okay, so it's difficult to tell, but no, we can't. Okay, but if I select the frames or the reference planes, well, it's there. Okay, so I can see because they're overlapping lines, but this is the window sill, that's the window head, and these are the lateral or the right and left frames. Okay, so what do I do? What do I have to do now? I have to cut everything, okay? Because now I have to open the window. So I have to cut the vertical element, I have to cut the horizontal elements, and I need to the first thing I need is to open the window here. So that's why I need the reference planes, because I want to cut different things. So that's I don't have to cut this one because this is out of the window and this is the first element I have to cut. So I'm going to use this option, split element. So if I split element here, okay, so I have created that element, and now I have to split the element where the head of the window is. Here. Okay, so once I have this, I can select the element that I have split, and delete it. Okay, so now I should do the same with all the stats that I'm working with. For some reason, I can't, when I'm using split, I can't select the reference plane or triangle. Okay, so I have to be as close as possible and delete. So now I have to keep going. I have to delete I have to split and delete two more. So let's split as close as possible. The same thing here. And now here and there. And now I delete this one and okay, so now this is now I can tell where the window is going to be, but I have to do the same with all that stuff. So I have to split this and that. Remember, well, if I created this with the array, what I have to do now is to ungroup all these elements, because if they are not, if we don't ungroup, we can't split them. And now I can use split. So now the split is here. No, I didn't do it. So split, yes. Okay. Oof. I don't know. Okay. I think I have split something, but it's not the right element. Okay. I'm going to use the, oh, see, I did it. I'm going to use the, but I split this one too. I didn't want to, okay. So I'm going to use this view, and then I will adapt the length because it's very difficult to select in the elevation, to select the right length. Okay, so I'm splitting this. I have to delete all these elements. And now, if I select this one in the in the section, I can drag it to this point. Yeah. And same thing here. Okay, so what do I see this? Because this is another horizontal element that I created in a different layer. But little by little, I am, oh, no, this is the, sorry, this is the thermal insulation. Okay, so remember that I created strips of thermal insulation, and can I split those strips now? Yeah, that's a problem. Okay, because I created those strips of thermal insulation, those stripes of thermal insulation, and now I can split this. So probably the thermal insulation is something that I have to do from scratch, or I can try another tool. So those stripes are created by the component model blades. Okay, so I did this, and then I extruded in this direction. What I need now is a void. Okay, so I'm going to edit in place. I'm going to select the thermal insulation layer again. And I'm going to create a void form by extrusion. Okay, so if I create a void form by extrusion, I have to work with the elevation, And now I know the shape of that extrusion, but I have to set the work plane first. So if I set the work plane, I'm going to pick a plane. It can be this one. And now I'm going to create a rectangle. I'm going to do it again, eh? So don't panic if I'm going to do it. Look at the screen, and then you can do it on your own. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a void. So that's the void. I click OK. And now I have to make sure that the void is thicker than the thing that I want to cut. Now I finish model. And there you go. You have a void here. So we're carving our way through the wall. Okay, so we have to go layer by layer, getting rid of that. So first, I cut the vertical elements. Second, I cut the horizontal elements. Then I have to open a void on that on those stripes of thermal insulation. So I still have to open a void of this board, then on that thermal insulation, then that board again, and finally those vertical elements. Okay, so I have to. That's why I copied all the elements, probably starting this from scratch and deciding where the window is going to be. It will take less time, or maybe not. I know. I made that decision to do this this way, and now I have to abide by this decision. Okay, I told you that I'm going to do this void first. So there are two different ways to cut or to open this rectangle here. So the first, if I created this with beams, walls, columns, I can use the split. But if I have created something with a component model in place, then split doesn't work. Okay, so if you want to split this, it doesn't work. It works when we have a Revit family, a Revit element. I can split it. Okay, so look at this. I split this, and now I can delete this one. But if I want to delete the thermal insulation, and if I go to the realistic colors, yes, so this is the thermal insulation. Okay, so probably this is clearer. That's the horizontal element. I split it. That's the vertical element. I split it. But now we have the thermal insulation. I can't split because it's a component model in place. Okay, so I have to create a void. I have something solid, and if I want to go through it, I have to create a void. So I have to edit in place, select the extrusion again, and click create, and I'm going to create a void through extrusion. Okay, so I want to create a void here following this frame that I opened. But the work plane, it has to be something vertical. Okay, so I'm going to create this rectangle on the vertical plane, and then I'm going to extrude it, and then I'm going to subtract the blue element from the rectangle that I have created, or the other way around. So first I have to set the work plane. So set the work plane, pick the plane. It has to be vertical. So I can select this rectangle, or I can select that rectangle. It has to be something vertical. Okay, so I'm going to select a rectangle like this. If you hover the mouse, when a rectangle is highlighted, you can select this as a vertical plane. And now I need a rectangle here and there. I click finish, and now I need to control the thickness because this void has to go all the way through the material. So select the void, and now you have these handles. So move it inwards and downwards. So make sure that the void is thicker than the element that we want to cut. And if we click finish, well, when I did it on the first time, it didn't happen, but now we have this warning. Okay, so if that happens, that means that we have to use the cut geometry. Okay, so cancel. The cut geometry is this. Okay, so we have to select the original shape, then we have to select the void, and now it works. Okay, so I don't know why Revit does this. Sometimes it works just by selecting the void. Sometimes you have to use the cut geometry. So you have to use the cut geometry. You have to click on cut, click on the original element, then click on the void, and it will work. So this is what we have done here. Okay. So look at this. We have cut first the vertical. We have to cut the siding. Okay, yeah, I did this because the siding was bothering me at the beginning. But if I unhide elements, well, the siding is there. So at some point I can unhide it, and I will have to, because the siding was a component not in place. So probably I will need another void for the siding, but I will do it later. Now I have to remember what I did to create this board. Do you remember what we did? Was it a component? I think it was a component model in place. Okay, because I have these handles here. So what do I have to do? I have to select the board, and I have to create another what? Another void. So let's edit in place. I want to select the extrusion. And now I have to create a void form. A void extrusion. And I have to do exactly the same thing. Go to one of the elevations, set the work plane, pick a plane, and I have to pick something vertical, this or this. I'm going to pick this plane. Now I'm going to create a rectangle here, here. So I have to deselect and select the void again because I need those handles. So I have to make sure that this is bigger than the original element. If I click finish, it doesn't work. I have to use the cut geometry. So cut, select the board, select this element, and now little by little we are so we are carving our way through the internal finish. So what's this? That's the cellulose. Okay. And these are the vertical elements. So I think this the vertical element is a family. So I can use the split here. And for the cellulose, I think the cellulose was a component model in place. Okay, so I'm going to cut the cellulose. So I'm going to do it again. So what did I do? First, select the cellulose, edit in place, select it again, create a void by extrusion, select the elevation or the front view or the left view, set the work plane. I'm going to pick a plane. I'm going to pick this rectangle. Now I can draw the rectangle here. I finish. Select the rectangle again. make it thicker than the wall that we want to cut. In this case, it's only the cellulose. Finish model, we have the warning, so we have to use the cut geometry. Select the cellulose again. Come on, cellulose. Select the void. Click finish. Oh, look at this. We can see through it. Okay, so we are getting there. So now we only have to get rid of these two stats. We have the stat that it's between, that it's in the wall itself, between the two OSB elements. Here we have the nasty cellulose, okay? And now we have to cut this element, and we have to cut this element here. But those are families. It's not a component model in place. So with this one, I can use the split. I can use the split, but first I have to ungroup, okay? Because I create the array. So I have to select this one. Oh, no, with this one, I didn't create the array. I think I copied this one. Okay, so now I can split. So I select this one. I'm going to work with hidden line. I split and split. So let's split this vertical element, and then I will delete this. Okay, and now I want to adjust the right height. Okay, select this one. Okay, interesting. I can. Okay, in this case, I can't adjust the size of the element. I think it's because of this base offset. Okay, by doing this, it works, but it's too complicated. So I'm going to try to split in the right place. Okay, so I'm going to use split. So I'm going to split it right here. And now I can get rid of it. And now I'm going to split right here. And okay, so I will do the same with all these things. Split as close as possible. Okay. And now here, get rid of it. And now I have to split these three vertical elements here. Okay, we are getting there. We only have to split two more, well, one more element, one more layer, which is the internal rafters that I have here. Okay, but those are grouped. So if they have if they belong to a group, you see that I can't split them. So I have to select all these elements, ungroup. And now if they don't belong to a group, I can split this here and there. I can get rid of this. And now I can move it up or down. Joder. No, I can't. So I have to split it in the right place. So I'm going to split here, here. And yeah, I wish I could move this, but I have to do it with the base offset and the top level. So it's gonna be a nightmare. So I think it's better do the same thing I did here. Split the elements as close as possible to the horizontal line. Like this, get rid of it. And now split those elements here. So is it? Um, this is a good exercise because you need to know what it takes to open a window. Okay, so it's yeah, open a window anywhere. No, it can't be anywhere because it has every time we open something on in the wall, we have to think about the structure. So we have already created the grid. So let's do this. Or you can create the grid according to the window. So it depends. Okay. But the window has to be surrounded by structural elements. And this is really what happens. Okay, so if we have this realistic view, when we are in the middle of the construction process and we open the window, this is what we find. We find a lot of things that are cut. And again, this is not the nicest place to insert the window. So we have to prepare all this because here we have cellulose, we have wood, we have board, OSB board, we have air cavity. So we have to prepare before placing a window, we have to prepare all this because we can't just place the window here. It won't work like that because again, a window is something that has to be nailed to something solid. So we need solid things around the frame of the window. But look at this here, this is not solid, this is the cellulose. So we need something, we need a frame, and we need to frame all these first. I told you that now I can reveal the hidden elements. So we still have this siding. So let's unhide it. And yep, you thought that we were done with it. We are not. So we have to go to the wireframe. And now we have to open the void in the siding. So if the siding is a component model in place, I have to edit in place. Select this, create a void form, extrusion, set the work plane. Here. And now I have to open a rectangle. I think it's from this point to this one. I think. That's good. Now I have to select the the rectangle again. Make it thicker. Finish. Oh, and it worked. I don't have to use the cut geometry. And now in the realistic view, perfect. I have a window. Well, I have a window, I have the opening.